All right, welcome everybody to another episode of Divine Farmer Health Podcast. I am Jimmy Yin, the Acu Sensei, and we've got Chris McKee, the nutritionist. And every week we just have a little chat. We have a little chat, talk about, what we need to do. What can you do? What can you do to take back control of your own health? And so that you're not dependent upon drugs, surgeries, pills, and more pills. What can you do for yourself? What can you do for your family? We want to be a source for solutions to your struggles. So we highly engage. We highly encourage you to put comments, questions into the chat while we do these live webinars and live podcasts, so that we can see what questions you have and we can answer them. All right. So thank you for joining in, Chris. What is the topic for today?
The topic for today is your immune system. That's a big one. Kind of tying into last week's topic, which was inflammation. So I want to remind everybody that if you want to watch previous podcasts, they're up on YouTube under Divine Farmer Health. So last week we did a pretty deep dive into the inflammation and helping people understand that inflammation is nothing more than your immune system responding to a pathogen, a virus, a bacteria, a fungus, a food intolerance, whatever, and it creates inflammation. So today we're actually going to talk about the immune system itself and help people understand and maybe give you some really solid tips here, because what's happening right now is we're seeing a resurgence of another strain of COVID. Is this year 4? Is this? I've tried in my head. I was trying to think this morning. I'm like, when did this all happen? 2020.
Yeah, it felt
So
like just last year.
I tell you. So we have a new name, Eris. I don't know who comes up with these names, but that's a Greek. That's a Greek god of chaos, which is kind of interesting. So, it's out in the news a lot, and we're starting to hear more about people, having to put masks back on and all this different stuff. So, I wanted to dive in a little bit into that later on, but we want to understand the immune system, and it is really an amazing function in the body, because it will identify a germ, a virus, or whatever, and then it actually tags it and marks it, so that if you get exposed to it again, it's like, oh, I recognize this. I know what to do about this. I've already seen this. I've already developed, antibodies against this. So it's an amazing system in the body. Now, what we don't want it to do is we don't want it to be on all the time. We don't want it to be in hyper overdrive. And we talked about that last week with inflammation being when the immune system's just stuck in the on position and it's fighting all the time in your tissues and your organs, and that's a really damaging place to be. So it's important to understand that when you're in that state, when you're in a highly inflammatory state, your immune system is so preoccupied with other things that if something like the COVID strain comes along, it really doesn't have a lot of power against it, even though it may have seen that strain, it may have seen COVID before, right? So I don't know anybody in my circle of influence that hasn't had COVID yet. And whether they're vaccinated or not, everyone's had COVID. But I don't know about you, Jimmy. What about you?
I've had it twice.
Yeah. So, my grandson just got it again, and he's 17. He got it way back until 2020 when it was the original strain. He got it, and of course he was 16, or no, he was 15, I think, or 14, and he was over it in 3 days. So he went back to school, right? And boom, he's in football, and he's very active and around a lot of people, and he got COVID, and he's fine. He was over it in like 3 days. So everybody that I know that's getting this strain is pretty much like the flu. We had it last summer. We got it from our grandsons last summer when we were out visiting them, and they thought they had a cold. 4 days later, after we left their house, we found out it was COVID. So that was our first experience with it. And we were in our travel trailer, and I had a whole stocked bathroom full of stuff if we got COVID, which I was so glad I had. So there was a lot of things we had to hunker down and stay in one spot for about 4 days, and we just self you know, did our thing with our nutrition and, you know, supporting our immune system to get over it. But if you have been reading or watching or listening or whatever over the last 3 or 4 years, you realize that the high risk cases are people who are overweight or obese, and those that are really low in vitamin D. Those are the two top things that are, you know, risk of comorbidity with COVID. So what is happening when you're very, you know, when you're overweight, even by 20 pounds, or, you know, obviously if you go up from there, there is a lot of inflammation created by fat on the body. It is creating a lot of inflammation in the body. So what happened with COVID was it was a cytokine storm. It was an immune response that went over the top and started attacking all the organs. And so if you've already got an immune system in hyper overdrive, and it's just going like crazy, and then you get something like this, which turns it on even more, it's just really, really hard on your body. So I just want to mention that again, because I think we kind of forget. We're kind of past the real crisis of this thing, but it doesn't change what is the issue for people who get really sick from this, or any flu virus, right? It's not just COVID. So that's something I just want to kind of bring up again, because I think it's super important for people to understand that getting the weight off is a really, really important thing for your overall health, but especially for your immune system. Did you have any thoughts on that, Jimmy?
Yeah, I like to talk about, when, since most likely everybody's got COVID, um, just because you have a strong immune system doesn't mean you won't get COVID, because
Right,
COVID is something, it was something completely different. It's foreign to the body. It's
right.
foreign. Whether, the conspiracy theories of how it started, we're not going to get into that. But the thing is, it was foreign to the body. So regardless of how strong your immune system is or was, you're still going to get it. I got it. I got it twice. I got two of the strains. But so why? Then you're probably thinking, so why should I even worry about my immune system if I'm going to get it anyways? Well, here's the reason why. Do you want to suffer for, what do they say, 10 days, 2 weeks? Do you want to suffer
Yeah.
for that long? Or, so like, for example, myself and my family, we got COVID 2 days over. That was it. Now, obviously, we have the benefit of knowledge of how to, remedy, how to support our bodies to fight off that COVID. But both times, actually, the first time I got COVID, it took me 2 days. I had a fever for 2 days, and it was gone. That was done. I took some Chinese herbs, did some acupuncture, ate right. Um, the second time I got COVID, I barely even felt it. So, that's the strength, that's the benefit of having a strong immune system, right? So that's one of the benefits. Second point to what Chris was talking about, weight. So weight, when we talk about weight, we're not talking about image, aesthetic, like how you look and stuff like that. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about actually you having more fat cells, your fat cells expanding. Why are they expanding in size? Because they're storing toxins. So the more fat you have, the more toxins you are basically hoarding and accumulating in your body. And then you have some type of, foreign virus or foreign something that comes into your body. It shocks your body. Your body goes into chaos. It doesn't know what to do. It just starts throwing everything at it, right? And it's almost like, if you imagine you have a military, you have a let's say SWAT team. Your SWAT team goes into a building to try to capture the bad guys. Well, imagine if all of the lights just went out in that building and your SWAT team does not have night vision goggles. So they are walking literally blind. So, and then they hear some sound. What are they going to do? They're just going to start shooting everything, right? And a lot of times they may be shooting themselves, their own teammates, right? That's what happened when COVID hit your body. And so what does the immune system do? Immune system puts those night vision goggles on your troops. So they don't start shooting each other. They actually can identify the target, the enemy target, and shoot only the enemy target and not just shoot each other and kill each other, right? That's the benefit of immune system.
A healthy immune system.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. It's really important. One of the top things that we need to address too for the immune system is a healthy gut. So so many years ago, again, when I went to school, it was DOS and dial up. So we didn't know a lot about the gut and the immune system. We hadn't discovered all of that yet. Probiotics were just kind of becoming aware of those. So much research now has been done on the gut and the immune system, so that they've identified now that somewhere between 70 to 80% of our immune system lies in our gut. And so having an unhealthy gut means you have an unhealthy immune system. And again, that goes back to some of the things we talked about before with leaky gut, where, the gut lining should be, the integrity of the lining of the gut should be really tight, and it should be very, it should have great awareness of what is allowed in and what is not allowed in. It is the barrier. So you think about, you put something in your mouth and you swallow it, and most of us don't think much past that. But there's a tube that runs from your mouth to your rectum. And it's just a big long tube. It's like 30 feet long, just winds around in the body. And it's in you, but it's not really in you, because things have to get through the intestinal wall to get into your bloodstream, to get into your cell. So when we have leaky gut, we have a damaged gut, that opens that whole gut lining up. And now when the food is coming down, it is not digested correctly. The molecules are really large, and they get into that bloodstream, and they are totally setting off the immune system and hyper awareness, and like, oh my gosh, these shouldn't be in here. And so again, the gut being off, your digestion being off, your elimination being off, your stomach digestion being off, all of those things impact your immune system. You have to have healthy digestion and have a healthy gut lining to have a healthy immune system. And again, you don't want the system to going into hyper overdrive with inflammation, and then you all of a sudden get hit with a pathogen. You want the body to be in, really the parasympathetic state, which is rest, digest, and just kind of cruising along. And then when something comes along, it's like, yeah, we got the army, we send out the first division, we're good, we're not preoccupied doing all these other things everywhere else. So, that's a super important thing. So we've talked about, the weight. You need to get the weight off, because that creates inflammation. You need to have a healthy gut. This is the time to get your vitamin D checked. Don't wait until December or something like that. Get your vitamin D checked. We know that anything, they did so much research on this with COVID when it was last couple of years, that we know that someone, in Western medicine, it's like, if you're at 30, they're happy. No, don't be happy with that. Okay. You want to be up around 60 to 80. So a year ago, I had my vitamin D checked. I was 32, and I was really kind of surprised. But I have a SNP, or a genetic mutation on that gene that helps me to absorb vitamin D. So I knew that I had to probably take more than the average person that wouldn't have that. So I upped my vitamin D for the whole year. And I just had my vitamin D done, and I'm 63. So it took me a year to go from 32 to 63. It is something that takes time. It's actually a fat soluble vitamin, but it's not really a vitamin. It's more like a hormone. And so it takes time. So don't wait until we're in the depth of winter. We're starting to see this virus come back right now. So let's get those vitamin D levels checked. We have, our insurance is Medicare, Blue Cross Blue Shield, and they cover once a year, they cover a vitamin D test. So most insurances will cover this. You just need to know where you're at with that, because that's a huge component of your immune system. So now let's talk about diet, because obviously what you're putting in your mouth and how it's affecting your body is huge. So sugar is a super, depression of the immune system. So this is something I heard probably 20 years ago. I was at a conference, and a clinical nutritionist was speaking, and he said 1 16-ounce Coke will depress your immune system for 4 hours, so much so that you have no defense against any pathogen that's coming in those 4 hours. 1 16-ounce Coke. And I don't know how many
Wow.
teaspoons sugar are in there, but I'll never forget that. It was like he said, for 4 hours, you're basically a sitting duck. So just you think about, you see people going into like the gas stations, right? Where everything's gas stations are now the food place. And they go in, they fill up those giant things of soda. And you're just like, you just want to scream like, no, do you realize what you're doing to your immune system? So sugar is a really big immune system depressor. So you really want to lower the sugar in the diet. It doesn't mean that you can't ever splurge or have fun or, have a dessert every once in a while or something. It's not that. It's the daily influx of eating, let's say, sugary cereal in the morning or starchy foods that turn to sugar. So we don't think about that, but a lot of times the bagel or the muffin or whatever it is turns to sugar in the body. So we want to make sure we lower the sugar content in the diet to just getting it from plants if you can. Fruits and vegetables are the place you want to get your sugars from, and really help that immune system. Don't depress the immune system with the food that you're eating. Any thoughts on that, Jimmy? I know that you're on board with that.
Yeah, definitely, it's kind of a 80-20 rule. No one's perfect. So we're not asking, we're not telling, we're not saying that you have to be perfect because nobody lives in a bubble. So if 80% of the time you're eating healthy and 20% you go and splurge and enjoy and not worry about anything, your health will incrementally improve, right? So, and that leads me to another point of we are either moving forward, like we are either building our immune system or we're tearing it down. There's no like coasting. There's no in between. There's not, okay, your immune system stays as it is. That doesn't happen because every single cell in our body is constantly growing. It's either growing or it's dying. There's only one direction. So you have to understand that you are making a choice. Like you not knowing, you still made a choice. Now you heard the information, and if you continue to just keep on popping processed sugar, drinking, eating processed sugar every single day, you are making a choice, right? Nobody forced you to put that donut into your mouth. So sugar, definitely, I agree. I wanted to go back to give people that are listening some actionable tips that you can actually do. So going back to the vitamin D. So one thing that we have done in our clinic now, when Chris says vitamin D, everybody's gonna be like, okay, what I need to just go buy some vitamin D off the counter. You can, right? You can. But not all supplements are made the same. So that's a whole different story. If anybody wants to know, how do you choose a supplement? Make sure you type into the chat in the comments below. Otherwise, we won't go over it. But not all supplements are the same. You can go get a vitamin D. You don't necessarily need to get a prescription. Like drug companies are making everything a prescription now. Like they have a prescription vitamin D now. I mean, it's crazy. They have a prescription fish oil now. I mean, and they're trying to make vitamins prescriptions also. It's crazy. Off tangent, sorry. So you can get a vitamin D. That can be one of the source. We all know you got to get in the sun, not too much sun. But here's another thing that we do in our clinic that most people don't do and don't know to do to increase their vitamin D quicker. It still takes time. So we discussed in a previous podcast, vitamin D needs to be converted to a usable vitamin D through your kidneys. So really, if you want to increase your vitamin D, not only just popping vitamin D, you should also put in nutrition that supports your kidney to convert the non-active vitamin D to a usable vitamin D. One supplement or one food that we do in our clinic is we actually give glandulars, so kidney glandulars. So what is that? That's like if you were to eat a kidney, like go get a cow kidney, right? You would go eat it because 3,000 years ago, they found out that if you have an organ that is dysfunctioning in your body, you just go eat the organ of an animal. And so obviously make sure it's grass-fed, organic, blah, blah, blah. So that's one way if you like to eat kidneys. But let's say you don't like internal organs, then it actually comes in a capsule. You can have desiccated kidney. And so we also, for our patients who don't like that, we prescribe them a glandular kidney in addition to their vitamin D. So now we're getting the vitamin D and we're helping the kidney convert it to a usable form. So that is a way. It still takes time. Health takes time. You can't improve your health overnight. Still takes time, but that will actually reduce the time to raise your vitamin D.
That's cool. It's great. I love glandulars, and I would imagine supporting the liver function is super important too. That's a fat
Yes.
soluble. Yeah. So let's talk about one more thing that's super important: sleep. You got to sleep. I know a lot of people don't sleep well, and we actually have a sleep program because so many people ask for this help with this, and somehow people, it's like a badge of honor. I can get by on 5 hours of sleep. Well,
Yeah.
you're not really getting by. You're probably hitting Starbucks at 4 p.m. just to make it through the day. So you need to sleep. That's your time when your immune system is really getting a chance to go in and clean up a lot of the debris. So we create debris. It's like your car engine. When you run your engine, you have exhaust, and your cells, when they run, like Jimmy said, they're going all the time. They create garbage, they create debris. So your immune system needs to go in there and needs to be able to clean it up. If you have inflammation, this is when the immune system goes in and actually cleans up the tissue damage because of the inflammation. So you have to sleep. Give your body that chance to do repair and maintenance in the body. Don't make it like something that you have to do. I love sleep. We have we sleep 8 hours a night. We're 10 to 6. That's our sleep. We are out by 10, and I naturally wake up around 6 or 6:15. I don't have to set an alarm. My body's done. It's like, I'm awake, I'm good. I can get up, you really, as you age too, this is challenging because I know clients, of mine that are in 70s and 80s, and sleep is not as good as it was when, teenagers are out and they're gone, and you have to shake them and wake them up. Right. And the older you get, the little more challenging it is. And especially for women, as our hormones change and menopause, but I won't dive into that, but there's answers for all that. There's solutions for that, but sleep is crucial that you really get it. Now, I'm going to throw something else in the picture here for sleep: alcohol. A lot of people come home and it's a glass of wine, and before dinner, it's a glass of wine with dinner, whatever, it's like that chills me out, that relaxes me, I fall asleep faster. Yeah, you might fall asleep faster, but there's enough clinical evidence now to show that it disrupts your sleep later on. It's also putting a burden on your liver, and your liver is trying to detox at night. And so oftentimes the people who are drinking alcohol are waking up at 2 and 3 in the morning, and that's what liver time, we call it liver time. And it's popping them awake because your liver's going, okay, this is, I'm trying to do the job, and you just loaded me up with alcohol before you went to bed. So alcohol is an immune depressant. There's no way around it. It converts to sugar, right? It's just immediately converts to sugar. As soon as it hits the stomach, it converts to sugar. So it's really important if you want to help your immune system out. Again, use that 80-20 rule. 80% of the time, I wouldn't have alcohol. 20% of the time, if you want to have a glass or something on the weekend, you're going out to dinner, you're with friends, whatever. But I would not make it a nightly routine. It's just really a burden on your liver, and it's also lowers your immune system. Your thoughts on that, Jimmy? I see you
Yeah,
smiling.
I'm actually looking. I wanted to share. I'm looking for a picture of the clock that you were talking about.
Oh
So
yeah,
in
yeah.
Chinese medicine, people were very observant back then. Let me see if I can save this. They were very observant, and so very smart. But they found out that the body, so medicine today actually confirms it too, that when you're throughout the day, your brain moves your blood to specific organs during specific times. Does it mean it takes away blood from other organs? No, it doesn't. It just means it directs its attention to that specific organ. So more nutrition, more blood flow is going to that specific organ. And so that tells us when that specific organ is functioning, the most, or is the most active. And they mapped out a clock that shows you, oh, what times does the body, pay attention to it, right? And so, okay, I have it. Let me see if I can share it. Quick. Let's see. I'm going to share this. You'll see exactly what Chris is talking about.
There
So
it
this
is.
is the Chinese body clock. So it tells you where the blood is moving at specific times. So what Chris was telling you about is, see the liver is between 1 to 3 a.m. So those of y'all alcoholics or the ones that, alcoholics in denial, and you need
Imbibe.
alcohol to wind down during the night.
Wind
Pay
down. Yeah, the
attention,
wine.
right? Pay
Yeah.
attention, because this is
Yeah.
exactly what happens. This is why I don't drink. I may drink once every 6 months or maybe once a year, but I typically don't want to because of this. You will wake up. Every one of us will wake up between 1 to 3 a.m.
Yeah.
That is the reason why. If you've ever wondered, hey, I drink alcohol and I always, I'm knocked out, because alcohol is I would say what is it? It's a calming. It does give you that calming effect, but it's also a stimulant. It does two. It does two things. It calms you down, but it also stimulates you back up. And so it calms you down, so you fall asleep. Okay, you fall asleep, but then you're going to wake up between 1 to 3 a.m. So those of y'all who have a glass of wine at night, I want you to comment in the chat, in the comments below. Do you wake up between 1 to 3 a.m.? Because chances are you do. And why does that happen? Because, like Chris is saying, your liver is so busy. It's so busy working. It shouldn't be. Actually, between 1 to 3 a.m. is when your liver should be healing. But you forced it to work by drinking alcohol. So it's going to wake you. You force it to work, it's going to wake you up. Okay. It's like a baby. You don't
Yeah.
let a baby sleep, they're going to wake you up then. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah, I thought that I just wanted to share that with everybody.
Yeah, that's a great. I love this clock. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, so it's really something that if you want to keep your immune system in tip-top shape, it's really something that should be just moderation occasionally. And I about 2 years ago I pretty much stopped drinking. I haven't really, I mean, every once in a while, but man, it's just when I do, I get a headache. I'm like, what? This isn't worth it.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
yeah, I think we had somebody asked a question. Vitamin D recommendation, please. Okay, so should we put our full scripts link in there? Maybe might be
Yeah.
good. Yeah,
We'll
maybe.
put it into this is from
Yeah,
our Facebook group. So we will put that into our Facebook group.
yeah.
But you need to find so not all supplements are made the same. In
No.
fact, majority of the supplements out in the market are not safe. Not They may not be safe. They may not help you. They may just be a piece of plastic, right?
Yeah.
So you need to make sure you find high quality supplements. High quality supplement is not because the company says it's high quality. Everybody says their supplements is high quality.
Yeah.
Okay. So it'd be a mute point to ask them. So how do you find out? They need to be third party tested. Third party means a third party who has no financial incentive tests their product to make sure, number one, it is safe. It does not have heavy metal contamination. It does not have medication in it. It is safe for you to take. Supplements are not required to do that here in the US, okay? Because supplements are regulated as food here in the US. And food is not required to be tested to make sure it's safe for you to eat, right? That's why we have all these genetically modified food that's killing people. So supplements, it needs to be third party tested, right? So that's the biggest way to figure that out.
Yeah, we'll put the Full Scripts link in here. And Full Scripts is our online dispensary where we've picked the product lines that we know we can trust and we put them in there. And so, like you said, vitamin D, for instance, we have D3 plus K2. You always want to have the K2 with it. So there's some supplements in there that specifically recommended by us for brands that we know are good. And they're in the United States. That's a really big one. The brands come from the US, not from China. That's a big supplier of supplements. So let's just kind of wrap this up with what we talked about, which was obviously, getting the weight off the body. And I think, we're currently right now running our 10-day detox, and you guys, it's not too late to get in. We'll put a link in here for that as well. This is a great jump start for you to start on that path you need to get on, and don't put it off. It's just too important. It's not just for this season of flu and stuff. It's long-term health. You want to have good weight on your body, get your weight off for long-term health and vitality, and be able to enjoy your life going forward. So that's really huge. Number one. Number two is heal your gut. And so from our 10-day program, we take you into a 28-day program, which is replace and repair. And that is helping you to understand your digestive system in a big way. We dive deep into the whole, stomach, small intestine, large intestine, liver, kidney, everything, and help you to understand what you can do to support those organ systems and make sure they're working optimally, and move you through that so that you have a concept and understanding to do for the rest of your life. This isn't temporary. We want to keep you on that path and keep encouraging you and educating you for the rest of your life. Get your vitamin D tested. Make sure you are, well above that 30 mark, which is a low mark, is a low end. That's we really want to be up in the 60s, 70s mark. Get the sugar down in the diet. That's a big one. Sleep. We didn't even talk about stress, but stress is a big inflammatory machine. But that's something we can talk about on another one. But just making sure that you're covering these foundational steps that we're talking about here, so that when you head into winter, you're going to be equipped. Your body's going to be equipped to handle whatever comes at it.
Yeah, so just a summary. So for those of y'all, weight loss, and getting rid of that fat that's storing all that toxins, right? The best way to do that is a detox. And we are currently, we've already started the program. It's not too late to join. It's our 10-day remove and renew, a 10-day detox. That's the first step. Okay, we have a 4R protocol for weight loss protocol, or decrease your fat and toxin protocol. The first step is a 10-day detox. You have the deadline. The deadline to join that program is actually September the 1st. So we are at 24th. You got about a week left to sign on. So get on ASAP, because this is part of that first part. This is part of a 3-part program of our program, right? There's 3 parts to it. So the last day to sign up for part 1 is September the 1st. So don't wait. You want to get a head start, because immediately after the 10-day detox, you're probably wondering, what do I do next? We have part 2, which is a 28-day program, and that is replace and repair. And Chris already told you what we do with that. And then part 3, we have another 10-day to help rebuild your organs, your other organs, okay? So in order to be able to follow us in this timeline, you have to register for the first part 1, register for part 1, remove and renew a 10-day detox no later than September the 1st. We will put the link below, okay? So you can get into that program ASAP. Once you get into the program, there's going to be other benefits to the other 2 programs, right? So the first step, get into that program, and we'll put you on there. And I will close this out with, for those of y'all who may not know, I am actually heading out to an Asia tour this Saturday. So I won't be able to join the podcast in the next 3 weeks. However, we've got surprises for you. And we're going to have some special guests along that's going to be, just chatting with Chris in the meantime while I'm in Asia. And then I'll rejoin you after those 3 weeks. And we got some new things up our sleeve that we're not going to announce it yet, but we got some new things that we're going to be doing once I come back from Asia.
Yeah,
All
and you
right,
want your
guys.
immune system strong while you're in Asia, right?
Exactly. I've been
Yeah.
prepping. That's why I've been doing the exact same thing that we're teaching you to do, right? Because I've
Yeah.
already I had accumulated, we all do. We all have slip ups. So I accumulated some weight and I've already dropped 10 pounds. It's been staying off. 10 pounds of waist, right? I've also increased my weightlifting. And so I because I know when I go to Asia, I'm going to be eating. Okay. See, this is transparency. I love to eat. I'm going to be eating. Okay. So I needed to prepare myself. So thank you for joining us. Stay tuned next week. Same here, same channel, same time, and maybe a special guest. You gotta log on to find out. All right, guys. Thank you, and we'll see you next week.